Welcome. My name is Dave Neff. I'm with the Carnegie Museum Board, and we had a vision 30 months ago. This is the 31st month that we've celebrated farms in Jefferson County. My wife Sherry and I, she had two aunts that owned a farm over in around Winterset, Madison County, and we had the honor of going to the Iowa State Fair when the Farm Bureau recognized that Century Farm. I'd never heard of it before, but we learned about it, and all of a sudden we were saying, what could we do with the museum here? What could we do something special? And we did a little research, and we found that 2.5 years ago, there were 14 farms that were 150 years and older in the same family. We've had some that have 7 generations that they can document going through. We're celebrating a century farm today on this. Yolanda is our lead guest on here, and once again, this is the 31st month that we are celebrating these farms. Farm has been in the family for 138 years. That's a good bit. That's a good bit, and hopefully it will continue. Myers Farm is located in Polk Township on 185th Street, up around the Packwood area, for those of you that aren't quite sure, but most of you I think have probably been there from the smiles on there. Started out with 160 acres. 1886 was the year that the very first Myers put a claim or put a stake in this ground. Well, let's talk about who they were, and we'll put some names out, and some of you in the family will probably remember them as a grandfather or great or whatever on there. So great-grandfather, Solomon Myers, and he purchased 160 acres December 8th. We're the 6th, so 2 days to go before another celebration. 1886, December 8th, 1886. Next in line was the grandfather, Rufus? How'd you say his name? Rufus Myers. And then an uncle by the name of Harlan Myers was the next in line from there. And then John and Yolanda took it over as this Century Farm. We lost John a few years ago, and Yolanda has kept the responsibilities of keeping the farm alive and keeping it going for there. I tell you what, it's just been a real joy. Just like this, we have people starting to go up the stairway. There are not enough chairs here in order to accommodate us. Art is one of our volunteers here. He does a lot of research. He's the one sitting on the stairway. So he's keeping track of me to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. But he's done a lot of research with Parsons College and other things along the way, and we're very thankful for Art being involved. We also have Charlotte Wright, who's standing in the doorway. She is one of our staff members, and she helps on a lot of the research and the detail, going back and making sure things are documented. This is being videoed. Ariel Seawall works with Dick DeAngelis. You may have seen in the newspaper about them winning awards. In fact, I think the Parsons film was an Emmy Award for Fairfield Productions. And so she has been our primary videographer for this series. And we're very thankful because this has become a permanent part of what the museum has in their ongoing collection on that. My wife Sherry is at the back. She is on the board with me, and I guess I don't have any other names that I can call out other than other farms. Flinchbaugh have been up here, Mr. McCracken, other folks that we're encouraging to, if you haven't had the opportunity, we'd like to give you that month to show your stuff, tell people the history of it and how it's gone for you on there. So without any further ado, I've used up my 5 minutes, and so we're going to turn it over to Yolanda, and you can give us your vision, where you've been, what you recall, and then if we need to, we'll even get into some questions. So without further ado, Yolanda Myers, please.
The Solomon Myers that first had this, he came from Washington City, Pennsylvania in 1834. I don't know what he did out there or anything, but he came and he bought some ground east of Packwood, and I do not know where that ground was. And then he left and went to Idaho for a while and did some mining. And then he came back in about 4 or 5 years, and he traded the land that he owned east of Packwood, he traded it for where we are now, west of Packwood. He and Mr. Packwood traded ground. And so that's how we ended up where we're at now. John was raised northeast of Packwood on a farm, but I don't think that's the ground that Solomon owned. I don't know for sure. I just married the Myers family. I'm not a Myers, so I don't know too awful much about this. But anyway, but they sold that several years ago. And anyway, when Uncle Harlan passed, he was a bachelor. He had no children. He had no will. Oh, my, yes. John learned a lot. There were some nieces and nephews. No one farmed but John. Mm-hmm. And, of course, it was his dream to own the family farm. So we got it will be 50 years and 25 that we have lived there now. And I do have a son and a grandson that is farming the ground. The other son and his daughter are raising the animals that are around, and so we're all still kind of involved in it. Christy, she's a nurse, so she keeps us healthy.
Well, how thoughtful. Thank you very much, Christy. Keep the motor running.
Yeah. So, John's grandfather, Rufus, had 4 children. Solomon had 4 children. Only one lived, and that was Rufus. Then grandfather Rufus had 4 children, and 2 girls and 2 boys, and that was probably not. Nobody remembers Florence Clark. She was a teacher here in Fairfield for several years. Martha, do you remember her? Yeah, you're too young.
I'm too young.
Oh, boy, you rounding up.
I know how. Yeah. And Inez, and she lived in Slater. And then Harlan lived on the farm, and John's folks lived next door then when they sold the ground north of town. They lived next door to where we live now. And there's always lots of activity going on at my house. There's either this truck coming in or this truck going out. And the boys have done a few improvements which we needed. Mm-hmm. And I have a grandson that I hope will carry on.
It's a great tradition.
He's farming right now, and I hope he can continue.
Good.
The rest of the grandkids have other interests, and that's fine. McKenna does like the cattle, so we have cows around. But there's lots of activity, and we've had lots over the years. When my kids were growing up, they did quite a bit of running around, but we lived on the pavement, and it got so that I suggested that when they met their friends to go to town, just, everybody park your car in our driveway and meet there, and then go on to town or do whatever you're gonna do. And John used to say, I know why you're doing that.
Really?
And,
Can you share that with us?
well, it was to keep an eye on the kids.
Oh, okay, John.
But they all started very young, helping him in the field, and we raised hogs and cattle for a while. And the boys didn't give Christy a chance to drive the tractors
Darn.
because they were in them. But she went to the hog house with her dad and delivered calves and pigs and whatever else was around.
It's always good to have a watchful eye
Yes,
on those things, yes.
but I don't think there's any place I'd rather have been
Yeah.
than on the farm.
When you look at the opportunities and you see the support, the smiles, all the family faces, friends that are
Yep.
here to say it was done and done right.
Well, we hope so. We tried.
Yep.
It wasn't always an exciting life, but we enjoyed it. And I worked in town, and I did work in the field some when I got home, until the boys got old enough to drive the tractors and stuff, and then I didn't do that, and I never chored because I didn't like the animals, so I did not do the chores, but I did work in the field. And one time, this hasn't been too awful long ago, John was a crop adjuster for 30 years, and he had a meeting in Iowa City, and it was harvest time, and Michael had his own business, and so he wasn't there, and John was getting pretty upset, and it worried me, so I went out and I said, I will help you so you can finish. He wanted to finish the field before he left.
Okay.
Well, he put me in the combine. And we did it. We got the field finished, and he hauled the grain to the trucks that came and picked it up and everything was fine. Until he said, you left the stalks too high.
Oh, no, really? John would say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I had run into you couldn't see because it was so dusty. And I didn't want to run the snout into the ground. But I thought I just was doing really good. I never did the combine ever again.
So
No, never did it.
One shot at it, and that was it?
One shot.
Oh, my.
So anyway, but his dream was to live on the family farm, and it happened.
Good, good.
So I can't tell the history of the family. We never talked about it much, and I'm not into geology too much. His sister Catherine was.
Mm-hmm.
And, but anyway, that was his dream, and then it happened, so that's all you can ask for.
Sure, sure. And that's why you say, as best as I can, we'll work together, we'll make stuff happen, and if he
Yep.
was happy and
Well, that was the main thing.
made a legacy, and look at
Yep.
the,
Oh, he was proud of his family.
yeah,
Yeah.
rightly so, rightly so. Well, I'm gonna let you know that we've been keeping track of each other for 30-plus years.
Yeah.
And so this isn't our first rodeo, but it's the first time that we've had microphones in front of us, so we got to try and watch what we say.
Yeah. Be careful.
Well, do you have other family members that might like to share a story or two of growing up on the farm, or not?
I don't know.
You don't know. People are looking around the corner here. And why are people shaking their heads? It should be, yeah, I'll be happy. Mom, I'll come up and yeah, we'll spin a yarn or two.
They're not as mouthy as their mother.
Forgive me. Well, then how about if I ask a few questions then? Would that be okay?
Yep.
And since you didn't grow up on the farm, but you've had, what'd you say, how many years?
It'll be 50 years.
50 years coming
and
up?
25
Okay.
that we moved there.
So maybe I can find some of these questions that might apply to
Okay.
the last 50
Yeah.
on there. Okay. 50 years, were all of your children born in town? Or did you have any that were born on the farm?
No, none of them. We had all 3 children when we moved there.
Okay. So they
were-
got to see it from there. Would you have family reunions? Would you invite family and
Oh,
friends
my.
and other things? Can you relate a family reunion story to us?
Well, some of the relatives didn't have very big houses, and our house is fairly good size. So as soon as I moved there, I would have Thanksgiving. And then it got that I was having Christmas. And I did have a couple Myers, no, one of them was Mercer, family reunions
Okay.
also, where John's mother's brothers came from California and stuff, and I did have reunions, a couple of them. I'm still having Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we have a good time. And my dad, when we moved there, my folks were living in town, and Mom had always had Christmas, and so the first year I had Christmas out there, and the next year she was getting dinner and doing, and he says, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm going to have Christmas." He said, "No, I'm going out to the farm. I'm going to Yolanda's. I don't want no Christmas in town. We're going to have it on the farm." And he would sit there, and of course he liked his grandkids. And so I have had lots and lots of company over the years, and we have entertained a lot, but
So that must speak well for your cooking and stuff. They keep coming back.
well, they're still alive,
Well, yeah.
so,
So should we take a vote of what their favorite dish is that you make?
let's just skip that.
Skip the dish, okay. You always survived and they're all smiles out there, so, okay, good. Side occupations, you've been doing hair for how many years?
I did hair for 49 and a half years.
Okay, almost hit that benchmark.
Yeah, and John started, he was a crop adjuster for, I think it was 31 years. And he loved that job. It was a kind of a part-time, and he could farm and do it on the side. They weren't, they didn't really coincide too sometimes, but anyway, they worked out. And we didn't farm a whole bunch of ground. We did at one time, but we kind of cut that back a bit. And so, anyway.
When you first moved to the farm 50 years ago, did you have a wringer washer? Did you have a dryer? Did you have to hang clothes out? What did you do to keep these kids' clothes clean? Anything special?
No, I did not have a wringer washer. I had an automatic washer and dryer.
Oh.
But
Okay.
I also had a clothesline, and I hung them out unless it was 10 below zero, because I love the smell of the clothes on the line. And so I did both,
Good, good.
yeah.
You know, there's something about when you bring them in and they're fresh.
Yes,
You can put as much Downy in the washer and dryer as
Yeah.
you want, but there's nothing.
nothing like that
nothing
smell,
better.
yeah. that's
Nothing
fine.
better.
In the neighborhood, were there any type of barn raisings when people would construct barns and neighbors would get together or
No.
do anything on
No.
that? Okay,
By the time we got everybody, most of the women were working in town then too, so nobody had time to do.
okay,
We kind of all just did our own thing.
okay.
I mean, you'd go down the road and there'd be Fred and John sitting in the roadway somewhere at Viston.
Mhm.
They had gone to school together, but we didn't. No,
Okay. Well, I just,
no.
some of the stories, they keep going, and this one didn't happen.
Well, when we were there, they didn't.
Mhm.
Before that, I think some of them got together to do hay
Mhm.
and stuff, but as far as when we were there, we didn't
Okay.
do that.
Was there a church that was close by that your family could attend?
We went to the Methodist church in Packwood
Okay,
until they tore it down and combined with the other Methodist church from Ollie and Richland and around. And so then John's mother started at the Christian church, and she asked me if I wouldn't please go with her to that. So then I switched to the Christian church. But
it's nice that in the rural areas
Yeah.
there have been that many churches to support, so you don't have to travel long distances.
yeah, yeah, we've always gone to Packwood.
Good. Well, you had the farming and you had the hair. Was there any free time for goofing, fishing, horse racing, tractor pulls, anything along that way that would happen?
Well, after a while, and we should have done it years before, John had the idea that he wanted to have a place in the Ozarks. And we did not vacation, hardly at all, or anything like that. So an opportunity came up, and we bought a little mobile home in Missouri, and we went to the Ozarks in later years. And it was a place where the grandkids were just little. Kelly was only 6 months old or so, but we had a yard so they could play. Oh, we had some good times.
Good.
So that was in later years.
When you first moved out there 50 years ago, televisions, dishes, antennas, I remember back there were only about 3 stations or so that
Yeah.
we could get.
Yeah,
So,
we had an antenna.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember out at the Parsons campus, they had to go out and they had to rotate it in order to pick up different stations.
Well, now, we didn't have to do that. We had a rotor.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it was called? Yeah. And we could
So you could
do it from in the
You
house.
could pick up KTVO and
Uh-huh.
work around from there.
And
Okay.
I think we had about 4 stations, and that was about it.
Mhm. Well, and now we're overburdened. We have to decide.
Hit that clicker. Okay, 50 years ago, you had electricity. Did you have any horses?
Or things for the kids to ride? You had just the cattle and
Motorcycles.
Motorcycles. Really? Oh, my. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
They keep track of horsepower with motorcycles, don't
And,
they?
and we had neighbors with children with motorcycles.
There's smiles coming up around here. Okay.
yeah,
Good,
there's-
good. Wonderful.
First one was a mini bike for Steve,
Okay.
and then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But we didn't have horses. John had a horse when he was growing up, but there just wasn't room for horses and cattle and pigs, and so we had motorcycles.
It worked. It worked. I had an opportunity to come to the third floor. I don't know if the rest of you have had that opportunity, but if you didn't, please take time when we wrap up here because it's a beautiful display. And how much digging did you have to do to find some of these letters from the paper is all, looks like it's been around since 1886? Little
Well,
notes and other stuff there?
That we have treasured and have protected, and it's so delicate that, but that, I didn't have to dig too far for that. I knew where that was, or I hoped I knew where it was. And the booklet that we have, John's sister, Catherine, and a lady that John's great-grandfather and his wife raised. She was not a relative, but her mother passed away when she was, I don't know whether she was born or when she was little, and so they raised this lady, and she started digging into the genealogy.
Good.
And her and Catherine, John's oldest sister, did that. So I was lucky, and I had that booklet. As far as pictures, we didn't take pictures, or I didn't take pictures a lot, and I don't think they did either, and I don't have any pictures of the older Myers people, but anyway.
No, it's a very, very nice display. And I'm so glad that you were able to get it here, and they've got a beautiful presentation
Yes,
on that.
they did a good job.
I'd like to open it up for any questions or any other memories that family, friends might have, other than, unless you want to talk about motorcycles some more. We'll see where we are on that. But we have a few minutes remaining in our presentation, and she promised that we would do at least 10 minutes, and we're going to get a half an hour out of this lady. Congratulations.
What?
Huh? Well, that's why we keep that over there, so we can keep track.
Wrap it up, Neff, wrap it up.
Any other memories, any other questions that we'd like to share?
I would really appreciate it if you would introduce your family. I knew them when they were little. I hear you talk about them when they were little. I have no idea what they look like now that they're big.
Okay, I can do that. And would you please stand up when I do it? My daughter Christine, she's the oldest. My son Stephen, and my son Michael. Okay, Christine's one twin, the other twin lives in St. Louis. That's my oldest grandson. Okay, McKenna and Tessa are Steve's children, and Malcolm and Kelly are Mike's children. And we do have a couple, 3 extras that hopefully will be in the family someday. We're hoping anyway. But that's my family.
Who's this smiling with a plaid on right here in the middle?
Well, that's my daughter-in-law.
Daughter, well, you're welcome to introduce your daughter-in-laws too. I think you may have a couple. Bring them on, bring them on.
My daughter-in-law, Kim, she's married to Steve, and my daughter-in-law, Jenny's married to Mike.
Wonderful.
So,
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
oh, I have a nephew standing up back there,
Okay.
David. That's John's sister's oldest boy.
Okay. Good. Good. Well, you've got a good team of support here,
Yeah,
and
I do.
I'm so glad that you said yes. We'll sign up and we'll do this. And I know this is not the best part of it, but it's behind us now, yo.
Good.
You know, you got it done.
I got it
And
done.
anytime the family wants to see it, Ariel will have a video. Jim?
I think any presentation would be remiss without talking about John and Yolanda's contributions to the county fair over the years.
County Fair,
Yeah.
okay?
I can't even tell you how many years he was on the board.
Actually,
Uh,
I have no idea.
do you have any idea? I'm gonna say 24. But I'm not sure.
I don't think anybody's gonna argue, so 24 sounds good.
But he loved those kids at that fair. And he did it when his kids were in 4-H and we were down there anyway with them. And we showed calves and I combed tails. And we even, a couple of years, the boys took calves to the state fair. But he loved that county fair. Many, many hours he was there. But he didn't ever complain about it. He liked the kids.
Well, when you have a passion like that, it is a joy to be able to share and see them blossom and grow.
Yeah.
And have the opportunity to, like you say, to get to the state fair and get recognized for what you have done.
Well, we went to the state fair, couple 3 years for each of the boys, and one year Steve did very well up there. It's very hard when you get to the state level, but yeah, he did a lot for the board.
Wonderful.
A lot of late nights building things and repairing things and getting ready for the next day, so.
Well, and it's an ongoing institution. Every year,
Yep.
it appears again, and
Yep.
more memories are made, more children have a chance to grow up in that environment of support and love of their families, and it's a wonderful opportunity. It really is. Couple more questions. Sherry?
I can remember down through the years, I was a customer of Yolanda's, and she would talk to me about the 4-H and scrubbing the cows and bathing them and teasing their tails, using hairspray, black shoe polish on the hooves or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't a farm girl, but she told me blow by blow on how you did this.
How do they-
Hauling hay to them and water, make sure that they were all fed and taken care of, big fans blowing on them.
Yep,
So I learned a lot from you.
you did,
I did.
And see, she remembers too.
and she remembered.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when I went week after week, and I hear Michael this and Steve that and Christy this, but I never really knew what they looked like, so I'm.
Well, now you do.
You betcha.
Yep,
Charles?
Dave, I kind of remember, older than you people are even, and the Myers boys were in 4-H in the 1950s. That might have been before your time.
not, well, it'd been John. It would have been John that was in 4-H in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the other thing I remember about the Myers place, is I think you raised seed corn too, didn't you?
we did a couple years,
Yeah.
and he also sold seed corn for a while.
What brand was it?
Funks.
Okay.
Yeah, we raised seed corn a couple years, but that was all. That was not, that was kind of complicated. So,
Stay with the basics. It works.
yep,
It works
that's
to
what
get you there.
works.
So.
Yep.
Art, anything from the stairway?
What's a crop adjuster?
What is a crop adjuster?
He's an insurance man that looks at your crop. If you tell him that your crop isn't what it's supposed to be and you want some money for it, he's the guy that decides if you get any money or not.
So if you had a hailstorm, windstorm,
And ruins the crop, he's the one that looks and decides how much you're gonna get.
Okay.
Thank you.
Which, being a farmer, it wasn't hard for him to do because, you know, he already knew whether it was 50% or 30% or whatever, so it was,
So he did not represent one insurance company, he would come in and
yes, he
say
did.
this?
It was Farm Bureau,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And then they combined with Rain and Hail
Took it from there.
and took it from there, but, yeah.
You keep smiling, what's on your mind?
I'm just very proud of you for doing this. You've done a really good job.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. I would
Thank you
invite
all for coming.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
If you haven't had a chance, Jake has even unlocked the door so you can use the elevator or the stairway to get up to the third floor. And it's in that first aisle at the top, and you can go up and take a much closer look if you haven't seen it already, so. Thank you all for coming, appreciate it.